of time and space. Everywhere and anywhere, every star that ever was. Where do you want to start?
We've escaped from the massacre, and just in time for some light festive frivolity, we've segued into our Christmas special, where we're not going to be talking about death or misery at all for almost an hour. I'm Ian.
And I'm Mark. And Merry Christmas from everyone at Aotas.
Aotas!
And we're going to be going down the boozer to have a chat about the Box of Dee-Lites. So before we get started, here's a little clip.
Now, what has the old man done with that box?
Oh, Abner, dear. It's too late now to cry over spilt milk.
He could have handed it to somebody. The Jones children or the boy, Kay Harker, your ancient pupil.
That little ruffian.
You don't appear to have a very high opinion of the boy.
He was a child for whom I had the utmost detestation and contempt. A thoroughly morbid, dreamy, idle muff.
Anyway, my ideal, the old man would not have trusted such a treasure to a child he had not met before that afternoon.
Well, then there remains the guardian, this Caroline Louisa.
The mistress of the house. A woman to be trusted. He could have whispered to her. Take it. Keep it for me.
Your imagination is quite Shakespearean.
We shall have to take steps about Madame Caroline Louisa.
May a weak woman make a suggestion, my star-bright Abner? Is it not more likely that he handed it to the bishop? There he was, you see, really in luck, amongst the most respectable company in the county.
It is only too likely, my Empress, and if he gave it to the bishop, it'll be in the cathedral vaults by now, and those vaults Guy Fawkes and all his gunpowder couldn't get through. Yes! That's where the box is now.
My celestial one, it's almost Christmas. The whole cathedral staff will be working overtime preparing for the 1000th anniversary. The bishop won't have given a thought to the vaults. He's thrown the box into a drawer amongst his collars and his handkerchiefs. Just you see if he hasn't.
My precious pearl, my blue and yellow sapphire, I should only like to see if he hasn't. All those fools who let it slip through their fingers. I tell you, Sylvia, I'm tempted to get rid of Charles and his infernal ha-ha what?
Oh, but my emerald, my ruby. He's one of our most precious workers. Get rid of Charles? Whatever for?
He's in charge of nobbling and scrobbling, and it all goes wrong.
Oh, but my own, my very own Abby. You must never think of getting rid of Charles. Can't you see he's our only buffer against the stupidity of Joe? And can't you see he's the only real friend we have? You do see. I see you see. My golden idol, my graven image. You must never, never be so foolish as to let Charles go.
And welcome back. And in this very special festive episode, we have a brilliant guest. It's none other than our dear friend, Mr. Andy Moore. Hey, Andy.
Hello there.
Woo.
Hello, chaps.
How's it going? Merry Christmas.
It's all right, Merry Christmas. I'll tell you what, it's brass monkeys out there.
Oh, isn't it just? So you gone the extra mile and wearing your elf outfit for the evening. That's very nice of you to do that.
I thought it was the thing to do.
Yeah. I didn't know Fred Perry made those. That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Proud Boys elf look.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Andy, in case anyone has forgotten, is responsible for our amazing audio feedback. And without wishing to spoil things for future episodes, you're in for a real treat when you get to some of the other later stories that are coming up in season 3.
A glimpse
So,
inside the diseased mind.
Yes, yeah. Well, it works for me. I mean, I don't know what that says about my sense of humour, but we thought we would do an extra little bonus episode for Christmas, just because, why not? And we came to the consensus that we would have a little chat about the Box of Dee-Lites, which admittedly isn't a Doctor Who, but it has Doctor Who connections. I'm guessing because we're all gentlemen of a certain age, I may be jumping the gun here, but I take it we'd all have the first sort of experience of watching the 80s BBC TV adaptation. Would that be right?
Yep.
Yep, I remember watching it what year was it? About 84.
Yeah, I
that's
think it was
right.
84.
So I'd have been, coming home from primary school and putting that on and presumably watching it. And it feels very Christmassy. Was it actually broadcast in like November, December?
My memory is that it was broadcast in the weeks leading up to Christmas, and then the final one was on like Christmas week or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Because-
It started on November the 21st and it finished on Christmas Eve.
Mark, he's done his homework.
It's my mum's birthday, November the 21st. So
Well, that's an easy one to remember then. So yeah, it's based on the novel by John Masefield, and it's actually a sequel. Did you guys know it was a sequel to a previous story?
I did, yeah.
See, Andy knows because he's done his...
He really has. I feel like a fool now.
Mr. Martin, obviously your background is in publishing.
Yeah, all
I
right.
would expect you to know all about
All right, shut up.
the Midnight Folk.
Tell me about the Midnight Folk.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So that got adapted into a couple of BBC radio versions, but I don't think anyone's tried to put it on TV,
No.
which is a surprise, really, after the success of Box of Dee-Lites.
Yeah, I
So
listened to
it's-
it this week, actually.
Oh, did you?
The Midnight
Oh.
Folk. I think I read it when I was a kid, but I couldn't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
But the radio version I listened to had Charles Dance as Abner Brown, I think.
That's right, yeah. That's the most recent one, I think.
Playing it completely differently.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bob Stevens is quite the character to follow up, really.
Well,
isn't he?
yeah, not half.
So the Midnight Folk, just to put it into context, it's quite, to me, just having gone through the synopsis and read through the details, it sounds quite sad, because I don't know as a kid that I really grasped that Caroline Louisa was his guardian. So it sort of comes across that he doesn't have any parents, and that's explored in the Midnight Folk. So he discovers that his great grandfather had a treasure that's been lost, and he's trying to track it down, but also there are these dodgy types who are also trying to get their hands on it. So there's like a group of witches, and his governess is Sylvia Daisy Pouncer, and that is referred to in the Box of Dee-Lites TV
right.
programme, because
Yes.
he says that she used to be his governess.
Yeah.
So she turns out to be one of the witches, and they're led by a wizard called Abner Brown. So they all feature in the previous story, although I don't, from what I gather, Abner Brown isn't in it as much as he is in the Box of Dee-Lites.
No, and he's very definitely American in the version I heard as well.
Oh, is he? Oh, right, okay. So yeah, there's a lot of talking animals, as there are. We get introduced to a few of them in Box of Dee-Lites. So there's Nibbins the cat. I'm very disappointed that Nibbins the cat didn't make it into the sequel. And there's one called Grey Malkin, which apparently they took the name of that from the witch's familiar in Macbeth.
Yeah.
So he goes on all these adventures with these talking animals, and he meets mermaids, and he rides on broomsticks. And there's a succession of sort of maternal characters who guide him through all these various adventures. And one of them comes back at the end of the book and introduces herself as Caroline Louisa, who then says she's going to be his guardian. So that's where she comes into it as well, which is quite interesting, because you just assume they're just regular people in the TV version. And the other thing I noticed, just reading up on it, Rat, also features in the story, but he's actually a friend of Kay Harker's in this story.
Yeah.
But he, in the Box of Delights, he takes against Kay Harker because he thinks he's going to get a dog.
Yeah.
So
He's a rat
that's
for
why he
hire.
Decides. Yeah. So
It'll work for anyone as long as it can get some green
Well,
cheese, you know.
Oh,
yeah,
green
I was going to make a
cheese.
political joke there, but let's not go there. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I might have to look that out and maybe get a copy of the book.
So
and have
that
a
was that was called Harry Potter and the.
read. yeah. You do wonder how much that influenced other notable works of fiction.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When there's a lot in the Box of Delights that you see in other children's fiction as well, isn't there? You know, well,
Yeah.
basically it's a great big melange of things that happen in other children's books. You've got a whole sequence that's basically the Sword and the Stone
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
You know, there's a space of a couple of minutes. You got flying cars, wizards.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's in there.
I don't know about you guys. I remember I knew I needed to see it because I think we'd had the 5 Faces of Doctor Who, so I knew who he was, and it was a big deal to see him on the TV because that was, something that we weren't used to getting. And this is prior to the 2 Doctors, I think. And I remember being quite freaked out by the theme music.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just me being a bit of a wuss, but the opening credits were they were quite creepy.
They
weren't
were in that sort of I don't know if you remember Into the Labyrinth, but they had that very kind of period reliance on flashing up scary faces in time with the scariest bits of the music in such a way as to really drill it into your soul.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit of theme music that's stuck with me. There are a couple of things from Box of Delights that have stayed with me, and watching it again for today's chat kind of, unearthed them, and I got all these memories back of, that's where that comes from, and So obviously at the time it did sort of sink quite deeply into me. I must have been a credulous child, but it was wonderful. It was wonderful to see Patrick Troughton in fairly doctorish performance. He's this kind of mysterious,
very magical
figure.
character, isn't he?
Yep, very very self-reliant.
It's nice that it's money for old rope for him as well, though, isn't it? Because he's barely in it, really. When you add up his screen time,
Yeah.
Handful of scenes. But to go back to the music, it's a fantastic piece of music, that theme tune.
It's Roger Lim who'd worked on Doctor Who.
Well, the actual
Previously.
theme music comes from what's his name, Victor Healy Hutchinson, from a Carol Symphony. And I'd associated it with the TV version, but apparently it was used as a theme in the 1940s radio version.
Was it? Oh, that's
wow.
interesting.
Yeah.
And
So
they've used it again in the Big Finish version, so there's a new audio version that Andy and I have had a chance to have a quick cram in before we convene to record.
yeah, it's a cracking version. It is. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Cast-wise, when you consider it's children's BBC, and maybe at that time there might have been a bit of snobbery about doing children's programmes, the cast is amazing, isn't it? You look at the people they got in to do it. Obviously Troughton is perfect casting, I think. He's just got a magical twinkle in his eye.
Yeah.
But Bob Stevens as Abner Brown, he just owns that part. He's
It's
so
perfect.
Yeah, he's always on the edge of just going completely bat poop crazy, but just kind of reels it in.
I don't know. I think there's a couple of moments, certainly in part 6, where he steps very, very definitely over that line, and but see, so he's one of the people that I, having rewatched it, I remember how scared I was of him, mainly because of that incredible scowling face in the opening credits, but also he's obviously quite menacing if you're a small child.
His voice as well.
I don't
so
really know
memorable.
much else of what he's done, so I'm not able to kind of contextualise, who he is.
I think he was lauded as the successor to Olivier back in the day. I think he was
Okay.
the next big thing. But I could be speaking out of turn here, but I get the impression that his relationship with alcohol wasn't necessarily the best.
Yeah.
And I don't think that really helped him in some ways.
Yeah, on the DVD, I think that the director mentions that at some point.
Did you see the interview where he talks about going to chat with him to see if he'd be interested in taking the part? So when they're casting it, Robert Stevens is appearing in Panto as one of the Ugly Sisters. So the director pops down there to just have a little chat and see if he'd be interested. He's quite a young guy at the time, the director, so it's, I suppose, quite daunting speaking to one of these sort of big names of the theatre. So he waits out back for him, and he turns up still in full drag and plants a kiss right on his lips and says, I'd love to do it, my dear, yes. Like proper lovey. But what a character.
He was really keen on doing it, apparently. He was a fan of the radio version, I think, is what I heard. I think he even said, I'll do it for free, but,
Wow.
Yeah, but then he sobered up and thought,
exactly.
mate, I'll do it for a couple of bottles.
He sobered up after he fell into the water at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, he didn't have to launch himself in, didn't he?
No.
I assume that was him rather than a stunt.
No, it was him, because apparently the stunt guy wanted extra to do it again.
Right,
reasonably enough.
Yeah, I think I would, seeing it.
And Stevens just said, sod it, I'll do it.
The way it was cut was a bit unusual. I know we're jumping about a bit here, but obviously they throw the bag of flour down him, or whatever it's meant to be.
Death by flour.
And there seems to be like a sort of delayed reaction between him being hit in the face and then him sort of launching himself off the top of the dock.
Yeah, I wondered.
Yeah, he really goes for it.
I wondered about that whole sequence. And I know we're in the middle of talking about the cast, so I don't want to get bogged down in the minutiae, but was it supposed to be a bag of flour? Why was he having a bag of flour to throw at
why
people?
Not? Why not?
I'm assuming
they're not going to throw a bag of jewels at him, are they?
Well, no, but I assume it was something else that naughty people might have had, especially naughty theatrical people in the 1980s. But
how dare you?
Who doesn't carry a bag of self-raising round with them? Come on.
Who else did we have? We had Patricia Quinn was in it as well.
Yeah,
who
went on to be
Bob Stevens' wife in real life.
She what?
She was Robert Stevens' wife in real life.
You are having a laugh.
I am not having a laugh.
That's amazing. In my head, the age difference between them would have been like, because she seemed very young. I don't know how old she is or was, or
yeah, I don't know.
But I would
just going slightly off kilter for a moment.
Oh.
I don't know if either of you have got the season 24 Blu-ray box set.
Yeah.
No.
But there's an interview with her on that, and oh my giddy aunt. Whoever they got in to do the interview, they earned their money. She is quite the character.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm trying to think of a polite way of putting this, really. She comes across as a little bit eccentric.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that out there.
Would you go so far as to say she's eccentric as a box of frogs?
Probably more so.
Wow.
More so.
I've heard a few convention appearances by her where that is completely borne out. She's 2 boxes of frogs.
I think I remember the guys on Radio Free Skaro, they did an interview with her at Gallifrey, the con in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
And yeah, I think that left a lasting impression on them.
But I thought she was absolutely wonderful in this. She was obviously relishing that performance. And obviously now that I've heard you tell me the Box of Delights is volume 2 of now that we know more about where that character came from, it's it makes a lot more sense, and it would have been so much more impactful to watch had we known who she was, and had the BBC sort of filmed that version where it was the second encounter or what have you. But yeah, she was marvellous, and then there were a lot of old men playing vicars.
Yeah.
Yes, I think my pick of the other adult characters, I think, was the inspector.
Yeah, it's my favourite.
I just love him.
James
so
Grout.
James Grout.
Yeah.
On his way to Kidlington
Fantastic.
to look after Inspector Morse. But what an amazing turnaround to go from being the world's most infuriating, obfuscatory, useless bloody policeman to being Morse's boss in, 3 or 4 years. That's quite
Yeah.
quite a
Yeah.
turnaround. He was brilliant at being absolutely unbearable. And every time Kay sort of said, "Oh, let's go and see the police," I was like, "Oh, don't go and see the fucking police. Jesus Christ. Just go and piss
think
up a
he,
rope. You'd have more luck."
It's
I think
fantastic. It's a mark of his skill, though. The fact that he is that infuriating, but you still can't entirely dislike him. He's still likable.
Just love him.
Yeah.
That whole thing where he says, "Tell Ellen to make you a posset."
A heg.
What's a posset?
A heg.
He takes a heg.
And Heg. She's one of the chasers, I believe.
Yeah. But that whole thing, I thought that was great. So yeah, he's the other standout for me. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, that said, I mean the guys who play the clerics on the train as he's arriving on the station, I thought they were quite entertaining. Well, they're doing the card tricks, trying to catch him out.
Yeah.
Ian scratching his head.
Foxy faced Charles. Who's the other
Oh,
fellow?
was it Fat Ken or something?
Fat Ken's close enough, I think.
Chubby Joe.
Chubby Joe. That's it.
Chubby Joe.
Chubby Joe.
Yeah.
Chubby
Fat
Joe.
Ken.
That sounds more like something you smoke than.
Now, Foxy Face Charles in the Big Finish version is played by a friend of the show, Sir Nicholas Pegg.
Good Lord.
Yeah, he puts in a really good turn. as
Yeah,
well,
very
actually.
good job.
Very good.
The Bishop is also very well cast.
Yes.
The Doctor from not the Doctor, the Doc.
No, not that Doctor.
From
no.
Reggie Perrin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably a pretty harmless dog. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Could
Everyone
well
is.
be.
I mean,
everyone is now. Yeah.
canon now. Yeah, I'm at least 3.
My cat is.
So so that's the kind of BBC cast, and obviously the children were played by some children. I don't know if any of them ever went on to anything else.
Mariah. Mariah was
Oh.
in Press Gang as
Oh.
Tiddler.
Okay.
Yeah, because
That's
actually she
another
was
Doctor
probably
Who
the strongest, wasn't she? From the
Yeah,
young
yeah,
cast.
she deserved the spin-off of her own, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Where she goes around gunning people down.
I'd have watched
You can
that.
imagine that's such a plum part for a kid, though, isn't it? You just get to come in and shoot guns and
Yeah.
be like a little thug.
Yeah.
It's great.
So
Yeah.
talk us through the cast in the Big Finish version?
All right. Cole Hawlings is played by Derek Jacobi.
Okay.
Sir Derek.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah. Ellen, the maid, housekeeper-y maid, is played by Mina Anwar, who was in the Thin Blue Line.
Oh, I liked her. Yeah,
And the
she-
Sarah
she's
Jane
good,
Adventures.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, she's in Sarah Jane Adventures as well. She was Rani's mum, was
That's
it?
right, yeah.
Yeah. The White Lady and various other parts was played by Annette Badland. You can see all the Doctor Who connections coming in.
just a little bit.
Caroline Louisa is played by Lisa Bowerman.
Yeah, that works.
Has a long association. Barnaby Edwards, who directs it, is also in as Winter. And then Abner Brown, as I think I mentioned before, was Mark Gatiss.
I'm astonished it's not Nicholas Briggs. But keep going.
What are you saying,
Now,
Ian?
have a-
What are you
All right.
implying?
If you feel so certain, young Ian,
Yeah.
who do you have down as Sylvia Daisy Pouncer then? From the
Probably
the
that
stable.
one that played Charlie Pollard, I imagine.
No, it's Louise Jameson.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great.
She's really good.
Marvellous.
And then the other couple of notable ones for me, anyway, were Dan Starkey plays the Dean.
Good Lord.
And then in a relatively small part, but I think he makes the most of it, Arnold of Toady is played by David Warner.
That is an amazing cast.
It's not bad. And it goes on for I think it's about 5 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that right?
It's
Yeah.
about that, I think.
So, you get your bang for your buck.
Wow, that is incredible.
It's a cracking version, as I said before. One thing I noticed, the main thing I noticed between the difference there is that Arnold the Toady gets a lot more to do.
Yeah.
I think he does in the book as well, but
I was thinking it over, and then I did listen to the interviews after hearing the audio version, and they kind of mentioned what I'd been sort of thinking over in my mind. Because in the TV version, it follows the novel in as much as it centres around Kay Harker, and it's a lot of the stuff is him having to make decisions. He's stuck on his own, and then he meets mouse, and you'll meet these other characters, but a lot of it's down to him. Whereas in audio, it's quite difficult to do. You can't have him sort of talking to himself, talking through the process of what he's going to do. So they decided to change it slightly, and I think it works really well for the audio. So Peter, who's one of the kids that's staying at Seekings, the house, he gets scrobbled very early on, but in the audio version he doesn't. So he accompanies Kay on the rest of the adventure. I think that works so well because then they've got that dialogue between them. And
yeah, it helps when he's trapped in the box as well later. Can you know, otherwise it would just be Kay saying, "Oh, I'm very small and trapped in a box."
And I felt I identified with Peter quite a lot because most of his dialogue was, you know, when are we going to have something to eat?
Oh, I know. I tell you what,
what's for breakfast?
You know, watching him necking all that food, and I'm thinking, I want his metabolism.
Yeah,
you had it once.
I know. I don't
So
know.
I was struck by obviously watching the TV version. Obviously, it was visual. It's a TV version, but I couldn't work out how it would come across on audio and how you'd do it with that really clumsy exposition, like, oh, now we're large and flying, and now we're small and down here. Did it translate fairly effortlessly?
Yeah, I never noticed. I never really noticed a lot of that, to be honest. So it must have worked quite well. Or maybe it's my prior knowledge of it that helped.
Exactly. I was going to say, me and Andy are primed for this because we've already seen the TV version, so we know what the score is. If you had someone who was completely cold to it going in, I don't know whether that would still be the same. But I feel like there's enough there that you can understand it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. Yeah,
wow.
Very impressive.
Yeah, it's going on. It's going on the yearly list now. I'll watch it and I'll listen to it as well, I think. A new tradition.
Or you could read the book.
I've read that a couple of times already. That's, you know,
I think
that's so 1934.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I've without cutting ahead, I found a large chunk of it absolutely unbearable because it was so out of date and so out of touch, and you know, from a different era. But I'm, you know, I would have read the book. I can't remember reading it, but I know I would have because I had that thing as a kid in the 80s when something was a film or was on TV, you'd go and read the book. As soon as Willy Fogg came along, I went and read the Jules Verne. Irrelevant.
Were you upset that there wasn't a line?
I was furious. I was like, why is Rigodon called Passepartout in this farrago of nonsense?
Let's not even talk about D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers.
Oh no!
Oh no!
It's a travesty.
Oh. Turns out they weren't dogs at all. They were French guys.
I know. What was
and
Alexander
Ulysses, there was
Dumas
no
thinking?
space or robots.
And Ulysses, it took me years to read that, and I'm walking around Dublin with a lump of liver in my pocket, talking to Molly
no
Bloom,
robots, no
and I'm
aliens.
thinking, where are the Keeganopters? Where's the spaceship and the little R2D2 spin-off robot that they had? I digress. Obviously, that's my job.
It's always good to digress for a good James Joyce joke, mate.
That's that. You know, I read Ulysses at university. That's the first time I've got to make a joke about it in, I'm going to say, 24 years. So thank you for that opportunity. Well, mic drop.
You're welcome. What did you think of the main actor in the TV version who played Kay? He's called Devin Stanfield. Do you think he did I thought, considering he's a child actor, I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, I thought it was well cast.
Ian's looking at me. Yeah.
I thought he has to carry a lot, doesn't he? But that was the other main difference I noticed between that and the Big Finish version. Because I never had any problem with Kay in the TV version particularly, but in the Big Finish version, he's a lot more likeable. He's a lot friendlier, whereas in the TV version, he's very earnest, isn't he? And he's very dismissive of the help at various points. Can you make a posset, Ellen? Well, I wish you would.
I mean, there was this kind of level of child acting that I remember from that time. And probably this means that all the shows I grew up loving were probably equally as kind of, you know, occasionally ropey in the performance. But, you know, the kids on TV, they were fine. There was a couple of them where there wasn't necessarily much emotion behind reading out the lines they were told to say, but they did a fine job. But I was watching it thinking, now any child actors would have been drilled for the stage from birth by their pushy parents, and they would give astonishing performances. And I'm assuming, well, I don't know, with the Big Finish version, I'm assuming they could probably cast someone a little older, and it would still sound like a kid.
Well, Peter in the Big Finish version is played by a woman.
Oh, right.
They've done a Simpsons.
Okay.
They've done a Bart Simpson on Peter.
Okay.
And I think
Mariah as well.
Mariah's played by a woman as well, and I think they pitch her voice a bit to make her sound a bit younger.
And who plays Kay?
In the audio version, Kay is played by someone called Mac Keith Roach.
Right. Well, apart from sounding American, that name means nothing. So I have no idea how old or not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's not going to have like a 20-year back catalogue of movie and
no. There's no point IMDbing him, clearly. So, but that's interesting because if it's much more drawn from the book and it's twice as long as the TV version, then presumably there's just an awful lot more of that.
I think they were just able to flesh it out a bit more. I think they were, from what I gather from listening to the interviews, they were a bit keener to give the female characters a bit more agency compared to the earlier adaptations.
Well, that would have been good.
Kind of pitching it towards the audience of today.
Yeah, but it must have been a much harder, load to carry as an actor if you're doing essentially twice as much. Because I can imagine, certainly from watching episode 1 of the TV, it did feel like it had been very, mercilessly culled from the pages of the book, and there was an awful lot that was left missing. And by the end of part 1, I was thinking, is this just like one big acid trip of just set pieces? Or is there a story? Or is it going to turn out to be a dream? So
I think in many ways it's a massive risk for them to take because it was a relatively young director. The budget, I think it was at the time, it was the most expensive children's BBC programme ever made. But in terms of an average drama budget, I gather from what people have said, it was very cheap. It was £1 million, I think. And when you consider all the heavy lifting they had to do with the effects, I know some of them, perhaps with modern eyes, don't look quite as good as you might want them to, but I thought there were certain elements in there that worked really well, even now.
I mean, for the time it was made, that's, was, the animation was lovely. It was obviously stylized and wasn't meant to be, real, but I think it worked really well. What's interesting is if that cost the BBC £1 million, isn't that the kind of figure that we're told a series of Doctor Who would cost the BBC in the 80s?
I'm not sure.
I think that's what I remember. Them, they'd spend about £1 million on it, and then they'd sort of double that from international sales, and that's how they managed to keep it going. So,
they'd make 2 of the 3 series of tripods and then not bother to make the 3rd one.
Don't.
They wouldn't do that. It'll happen, mate. Don't
go there.
Don't lose the faith. It'll happen.
Yeah, I'm sure all the cast still look pretty much the same as they did
probably.
1980 something.
I'm not getting stressed waiting for season 2 of El Dorado. I know it'll happen.
You are a massive Jesse Birdsall fan, aren't you?
I am. I'm the hugest.
Yeah. Weren't you going to change your name to Jesse at one point?
Fifth Amendment privileges.
Might help you sound a bit more American when you move over there.
I could change my name to anything, I think. I'm going to have a real hard time when they ask me what my name is and I say, Axel. I'm going to have really struggle not
How
to
did
do
I
that.
guess it was going to be Axel?
Yeah.
Hank. Go with Hank. Hank's always a good one.
Hank,
Yeah.
Hank Axel Moody. That is my name.
Yeah.
So, did you find that the memory cheats, Ian? So when you watch this back again, did you still enjoy it, or was it a case of
Well,
that's
I
not
think
really what I remembered?
you know, where it's different from something like Doctor Who in that when I grew up in the 80s watching Doctor Who, I'd buy them on VHS. There weren't repeats, but I feel like there were repeats. It was obviously just watching it on VHS. And those things never kind of got old in the same way because I was always able to revisit them. Whereas this, I genuinely can remember watching it on TV, not, the ins and outs of it, but I remember some of the iconography and some of the shots and some of the moments and some of the dialogue. And, visually, it is a little bit staggering when you think, my God, I was alive when they made this, and TV has come on so much, and I must be like a million years old.
Yes.
But I think if I was watching it now at, the same sort of age, I would hope that it's still got the same magic and the production kind of language and grammar of the time wouldn't be a problem. I think, however, in terms of the story and the narrative, I have slightly more concerns now and some questions for Mr. Macefield chiefly.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing, was wonderful and glorious and magical and monstrous, and there was growing and shrinking and time travel, and it had everything you'd want in anything at all. But it all built up to the whole crux of this is we have to save midnight mass in some church so that a bunch of awful middle-class white people can come in at the end and look smug and sing
the pagans
hymns.
have to save the Christian Christmas.
Oh, God. Yeah. And it was the Christ-bothering element of it that gave me the most kind of chills, I would say.
Yeah. But one of the things
Welcome to our special Christmas edition of All of Time and Space.
It's one of the things I like about it the most, though, is the fact that you've got all these people. Are they masquerading as clergy? Are they actually clergy at some point along the line there? But they're evil, they're bad, and this is back in the days when you didn't automatically associate clergymen with kidnapping choir boys and sticking them in their cellars.
Times have changed, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, you expect that kind of thing now, but back then it would have been a shock.
It's 10 a penny now. It's job description probably. If you are listening and you do work for the legal department of the Catholic Church, I'm off.
I was an altar boy, so...
and it altered you.
Mm-hmm. And my dad was taught by the Christian Brothers, and you don't want to know too much about that.
Oh. I was brought up C of E, which meant I never went to church, so job's a good one.
That's the way to do
it.
That's the way to do religion.
They could be working harder. The Church of England, they've got this very laissez-faire approach to inculcating religious.
Well, there might be a God, there might not be. I mean, I don't know.
No, we don't care. It's 5:30. I'm off down the boozer.
Works for me.
But I suppose it. It's strange because it had that kind of 1930s sensibility of, we're British, this is what we do, we go to church, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And therefore I imagine, and obviously you've underlined this with telling me there was a radio series that some of the cast and probably some of the production staff would have heard when they were younger as well. So they were approaching it as this kind of revered classic. That had to be made. But I was watching it thinking, as a kid in the 80s, what did this really have to say to us, and why were they showing this when we could have had a third series of Bad Boys or more Grange Hill? Why do they?
Thinking about it, at the time I went to a Church of England primary school, so I still would have been in primary school when this aired, and it was perfectly normal just for everyone to go into the hall at the start of the school day, and you'd all sit down on the floor. You'd have your book of, I think it had a bright orange cover with Morning's Broken on it, and you'd open up to page whatever it was, and you'd sing your hymns, and that was all. That was just part of the routine of the day. It wasn't. I don't remember ever really being sort of having religion really heavily kind of taught to me at that age, but obviously there would have been that connection, especially with Christmas as well, because obviously that's, kids make a big deal about Christmas because it's a massive deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, midnight
it's
mass
always-
is a big deal for us,
Yeah.
So that whole aspect of it being like a midnight carol service or whatever, that was that kind of resonated.
So I think we were perhaps a bit less cynical back then, young Ian.
Well, I think, we were, certainly my mum was, I'd say, God-fearing. She didn't go too many times a year, but she wouldn't miss a midnight mass.
Yeah, my mum was the same.
I went to midnight mass once when I was an undergraduate in Canterbury, and I remember I was out drinking, and then I was in the cathedral and trying to get served. It was bad.
Do they not have a bar at midnight mass?
Not in those days.
Altar
No.
wine.
No. I was going to say a bit of communion wine.
But I suppose if they were making it for television now, would they have to tone down that aspect of it, or would they have to include other religions for balance and thus kind of miss the point of it?
Well, if it was being made by the BBC, then they've got this edict from on high to make more British-centric programmes.
Yeah.
So
So
I think if anything, it'd be going the other way.
So that kind of thing's coming back. That's what you're saying under
Well,
Mr.
yeah, I'm
Johnson
sure they'd be,
and men of his ilk. We will be getting a lot more of this kind of. I don't want to say irrelevant because I don't seriously want to poke fun at anyone's deeply held religious convictions, but I did. It just feels kind of uncomfortable now because it's the whole crux of it built towards this whole yay the church, and it just doesn't land with me the way that I was, I suppose, raised. Maybe we were that last generation that was really raised in that kind of setup. This has all gone very heavy, and we can probably cut most of this.
It has. It's supposed to be a light and fluffy Christmas special.
Let's dismantle religion.
Merry Christmas.
We'll defund Jesus. We'll cut.
Jesus was
cut most of
British.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, let's put Jesus on the side of a bus.
Yes.
Anyway, I tell you what I want to talk about is Kay going into his bedroom and locking the door and pulling the curtains
Okay, I'm not sure I like where this is going.
with his
but
Box of
go on.
Delights. Basically, what Macefield is predicting here is a tablet with the porn filter turned off, isn't it?
Oh,
Not only does his Box of Delights go smaller, it makes it go bigger. And it gives him the purple pim.
oh, we haven't talked about the purple pim yet, have we?
I remember I hate that expression, and I never knew where it was. I knew it was buried somewhere in my childhood TV watching past. I knew some character in some show had come out with it, but I've always had a really loathing reaction to that expression. Does anyone know what it means?
I haven't got a
Not a
Scooby.
clue.
No.
Oh,
Should we go to let's go to Wikipedia because that's always reliable.
it's probably short for like the Purple Pimpernel, who is like the evil brother of the Scarlet Pimpernel.
or it's some sort of
That's
slang
what I'm
for
guessing.
genitalia.
that'll
or
be
something,
it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Purple Pim does not exist.
There you go.
Oh, let's
I
try
think Tosser to
there
my
you go.
kick
Google
does.
instead.
I haven't got a tosser to my kick.
That was a great expression. I'll be using that in a couple of weeks when I genuinely don't.
Purple Pim means it's the absolute limit or enough already. Which, when you think of when he uses it, that does kind of make sense. There we go.
Well, now we know. We've all learned something.
We've maintained our Reithian ambition to educate as well as entertain.
I didn't realise we had to do either. Oh, Christ. I'll have to radically rethink my whole approach to this now.
It's all been going wrong all this time.
Well, I, for one, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It does. There's a massive lull in the middle.
Yeah.
where there's a lot of kind of treading water, but there's just things about it that are just magical. They look great. The scenes in the snow are absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, that apparently, so they tried to plan ahead as much as possible, and they did some research and tried to pinpoint the place in Britain that would be virtually guaranteed to have snow at that time of year. So they got everything set up. I think it was near Aberdeen, did they say on the DVD? Can't remember now. So the director flew up beforehand just to see the lie of the land and prepare before filming. Not a flake of snow had touched the ground. All the locals are going, I don't know what's going on. It's usually in feet of snow by now. It's really weird. It hasn't happened for years. So he's now absolutely bricking it, thinking, oh God, we need snow. So at great expense, he orders a snow machine to be brought up from London and flies back down to London, does a few other bits and bobs, then gets the very last flight back into Scotland before they have to shut down the airport because they've had a record amount of snow. so the snow machine is trapped. It can't get to Scotland. And
Wonderful.
They had so much snow, like the kids are up to their waists in it. And it looks, as you say, it looks so magical when you see, there's no way you can fake that.
Yeah, some great shots.
I don't know if you noticed when they have the little scene where they're fighting the wolves on the King Arthur's camp.
Is he?
At the top of the
I
hill.
always thought he was quite butch.
He is. Oh, I don't know. They had to shoot that later. So you'll notice that the snow is actually foam from Patrick Troughton's foam machine from
he brought it with him.
Seat of Death.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's never
all the
without
rest
his
is
foam
genuine
machine.
Snow. He really isn't. He loves it.
One sort of 1930s element of it was that no one really seemed to care too much when the kids went missing and got kidnapped.
No.
And they're
No.
just their beds aren't being slept in, and the maid, she don't give a shit. I think if
Well, I mean, you do have those weird things with like the when Caroline Louisa goes off to see her poorly relative, and then they have the phone call to say, "Oh, I can't make it back," and then she's going to come back later, and then doesn't arrive, and it's just. But obviously, the inspector is more than happy that there's nothing to worry about, and they just need to go away and get their jorum and start putting their nutmeg in, and their
Too much
egg in it.
education has been
right.
turning his head.
Yeah, it's weird. I suppose to be fair, back in the 80s, I remember during school holidays, you'd have your breakfast, meet your mates down the park, have a kickabout, build a den, do all sorts, and then you come back in the evening for your tea, and you'd be out all day. You might pop back for a drink or something during the day, but you wouldn't see anyone for hours and hours, and that was just the norm.
But as a 8 or 9-year-old, you wouldn't have stayed out all night, and no one would have thought anything of
probably
it.
not.
Or
No, but there was, I don't know, there just seemed to be a more relaxed attitude, I find.
yeah,
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, overnight is really pushing it.
yeah.
Although Mariah could look after herself, didn't she?
Well,
So-
absolutely. She was her
tooled
fingers are deadly weapons. And she's a crack shot with both of them, or whatever it was. Yeah, she was great. I could take a spin-off series for her. You're right. She'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're right. Though. All Ellen was bothered about at any time was whether their clothes got wet. I think that was her main
That's
concern.
very
wasn't it?
true. Yeah, don't throw snow at each other. You'll get wet. Well, don't let them out in the snow then.
Well, I mean, Kay was a little shit to her at one point, and when the house got broken into, she
Yeah.
got called away being told her mother was ill, and he said, "Why
Yeah.
did you leave the house?" I mean, come
Yeah.
on, mate. What'd you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Considering it sounds like both his parents have died, you think he'd have a little bit of sympathy for him.
you're very right. You're very correct. Just because he's been flying around to some weird vicarage to look at old men skinny dipping or whatever was going on. Some of the details may have passed me by. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, it was a very well put together thing. It was
Yeah.
obviously very Christmassy.
I have to say,
and
I
very
was
lovely.
really surprised. It came as a massive shock to me when the green spirit came out from underneath the waterfall. I don't remember Ollie Alexander being in this production at all. It was really good.
Hey. What you mean?
Now,
the
that was
future Doctor Who, Ollie Alexander.
Yeah, yeah.
That was another thing that as soon as he appeared, I remembered that because that obviously visually was quite stunning.
Yeah.
And he just sort of rose up vertically from the, workbench or whatever it was. There were so many elements of this which, have stuck with me on a subconscious level, and there are other elements that have been mixed up with other things. So, I mean, Herne the Hunter.
Yeah.
You know,
We got the whole Robin of Sherwood thing, which
Robin
would have
of Sherwood,
got
and there was
conflated,
the Campion in the 80s. The first story
Yeah.
involved someone pretending to be a Herne-like figure. So again, the iconography of that was very strong. But I don't know. Did we like Herne the Hunter? Did we understand what he was all about?
Well, just your bog standard sort of 1980s geezer with massive mullet and silly hat, and just move the plot along. Got you to change into different animals and stuff. Just for a
As you
laugh.
do.
I mean,
Just
most
spend
mythical
half an
figures
hour.
have got mullets. It's a well-known fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Only if you're a Leeds fan. Yeah.
I think the scene where they go into the picture, that's something that always stuck with me as a
Oh,
kid.
yeah. I mean, Kate
to
definitely found it amazing because he spent ages there staring at Patrick's ass.
I think it was a donkey.
Oh, right. Okay. No, that sequence is great, actually, when the picture comes out. Was that the sequence they showed on Blue Peter as well, I think? I remember it
Yes.
from that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah.
That would be right. Yeah, I guess it would have been very heavily trailed because it was probably visually the most sort of easy clip to lift out and just give you a little taste of here's something a bit magical, offering you excitement and mystery in a way that, dare I say it, John Craven cannot offer.
Speak for yourself.
Wow, you know.
But it's as well with that sequence. It underlines that when something magical's happening, it's animation, because towards the end of it, Trout and his donkey, not his ass, they turn into animation themselves, don't they? So it kind of sets up that visual language for later on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I think we're coming around to giving this 10 out of 10, aren't we?
Well, I mean, you give 10 out of 10 to anything these days.
Oh, yeah, you know me. Anything with Stephen Taylor in it, I'm all over it. No, I think the more we talk about it, the more I have to kind of get over my problems watching it today, which were, there's too much Jesus in this. Why is no one looking after these children? This doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense.
I just think for me and for a lot of people our age, there's just a huge nostalgia for it. Just
absolutely.
It was,
I mean, the box itself, when you see it in the credits, just sort of rotating
yeah.
I actually, do you know what? I think I can remember, because I was still of an age then when I would like play things myself, and I used to make so many TARDISes out of bits of cardboard or toothpaste boxes or whatever. I'm pretty
Lego
sure
was my
I
favourite,
made my own Box of Delights out of cardboard.
Nice.
But it would have been a rubbish box of very, very poorly constructed
Turkish
delights.
delight.
Yeah, I should have just used that, shouldn't I? Yeah.
Anything else we want to say before we wrap it up?
Trying to think. Oh, there was another couple of people turned up in this that might have been of interest. Julian Sands was one of the Greek soldiers.
His name in the
Nick Berry was one of the pirates.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And Rat was played by Bill Wallace, who most people will know from Blackadder, I suspect, as the German spy that wasn't a German spy.
Yeah, that's right. I remember.
That's him. I did not realise that was him. Oh, that's cool.
There's also some great turns of phrase in there. Time and tide, and buttered eggs wait for no man.
Nice.
But my favourite
I use
is
that all the time.
what a salmon can do, a man can do. I mean,
I
if
think
that's
that's,
not a lesson for life, I don't know what is.
Again, anyone that's seen me in a swimming pool will know that is not true.
Andy's actually got it tattooed on
Oh, I
his
have,
thigh. Yeah. Nice.
I think the thing that I don't like about it, above all, is the ending.
Yeah, that was very, very lame, wasn't it? Even by the 1984 critical faculties of me as an 8-year-old or whatever, I was like, oh, this could be working harder. It's all a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even more bizarre when you consider that all of the things that happen in the first book, in the Midnight Folk,
Yeah.
there's fantastical things going on there, talking animals and witches, and there's flying and talking portraits and time travel, I think, and all kinds of stuff like that. That wasn't a dream, but this was a step too far. I mean,
That is because I was about to ask, was the first one a dream as well? So I'm wondering if maybe the dream ending only exists in the BBC version. I can't remember the book.
It's the book as well. I heard tell that the publishers imposed it upon him, but I don't know how true that is.
Oh.
It sounds like the sort of thing we'd do.
Well, I think that's a general...
Yeah.
Just need to use a bit of headcanon then, don't we, really?
Yeah. I always ignore that bit.
Being good Doctor Who fans, we're always going back and...
And the other bit is the polystyrene snow at the end. I mean, I can forgive an awful lot, but after those spectacular snow scenes earlier on in the story, polystyrene snow at the climax of the whole thing.
It's a very, very definite sort of line through the middle of the picture, But, it's 1984. What are you going to do?
Yeah, probably a lot of TV from that era doesn't hold up well.
I don't know what you could be referring to, mate.
I'm sure I don't either.
Well, I think we ought to wrap it up and give it a score. So, Andy, you are our guest. I will ask you for your score out of 10, please.
Well, if I look at it with a critical eye, it's it's got its problems, but I can't look at it with a critical eye at all. So it's 10 out of 10 for me.
I can totally understand that. Ian?
I don't feel as sentimental about it as you guys, I think. I'm going to give it a 6.
Ugh, you absolute Grinch.
Well, you know how I feel about Christmas.
Well, yeah. You made it very clear. Okay, well, to make up for that, I'm going to give it a 10.
Good man.
Ah, that's wonderful.
Bar humbug to you, Ian.
Absolutely.
God bless us, one and all. Non-existent God.
So, yeah, right. So, now that we've got that bit of business out of the way, shall we have a tiny wee quiz?
Oh, God, help me.
Go on then.
Let's do a little quiz. It's a very simple quiz for you this week. I don't know why I say this week.
Do I get to join in because it's Christmas?
All right, yeah, you can. You can both join in.
Oh, yay!
I've got a list of 10 stories, concepts, or things, and all I want from you is a yes or a no. It's that simple.
Okay.
Okay.
We can take it in turns. Andy,
Are you
maybe?
with me? All right, we'll take it in turns. So, first question goes to Andy. Let's go with Orphan 55. Yes or no?
Bastard. Yes.
Is the
It's the
right
correct
answer.
Yeah.
Mark,
Yes.
the twin dilemma.
That's a no.
That's correct. Andy, I'm half human on my mother's side.
No.
I'm afraid that's a yes.
Oh, no. You know what? I couldn't be doing with it then.
Double bluff.
I can't be doing with it now. There is a line.
Mark,
there is
never
a
been
line.
mentioned,
A line in the snow. Yeah.
A yellow line in
Mark,
the snow.
It's polystyrene. Yeah.
I'm half cut on my mother's side. Mark, for you, yes or no, the timeless child?
Thanks for saving this one for me. On the basis that it could very well go Kay Harker and they will just wake up and it's all been a dream, I'm going to say yes.
Well, that's not the answer I've got written down here. Okay, Andy, big finish. Yes or no?
Yes.
Excellent. Mark, time and the Rani.
My 16-year-old self would have said no, but my olden self is going to say yes.
Quite right too. That's entirely correct. Okay, this is going to be a divisive one. Andy, Captain Jack Harkness.
Yes.
Okay. Mark,
Moving on.
Similar question for you.
Oh,
Adric,
God.
yes or no?
Oh, that's a very firm no from me.
Very firm in the first episode of Castrovalva.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, that's going to have to be the image I use for the trailer for that one
Oh,
whenever we get to it.
good lord. Okay, final question for you, sir. Captain Mike Yates, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Of course, yes.
Yes. And finally, Mr. Cockram, Melanie
Yes.
Bush, yes or no?
I'm going to say yes.
Yes, it is correct. Everyone's done really well. I think we've all learned a little bit about everyone's Doctor Who background there and opinions.
Yes.
Marvellous.
Yeah, some of those
Right,
are
is
tricky, though. You know what I mean? Captain Jack Harkness. I mean, which bit? It's. Oh, mind you, I don't want to talk about Captain Jack Harkness's bit. I think that's been covered.
No, because he'll only flop it out.
Yeah.
No.
I wish it had been covered. I think half the staff would have. You don't know what? I'm not going to make jokes because there are lawyers out there. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so what's next in our merry festive Christmas? Is there going to be a Christmas dinner now? That's what I'm here for.
Yes.
Great.
The only problem is I've been doing the cooking, so it's going to be somewhat limited.
Oh, well, I'm assuming turkey and all the trimmings, right?
So our turkey flavour pot noodle.
Oh, right.
Right. There's
Dry sherry.
I think that's my
there's
cab,
there's-
actually.
Yeah,
outside.
I've got to go.
I've got enough for everyone.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, well,
You have your pot of delights, and we will take care of ourselves.
well, and incidentally, Merry Christmas to everyone at home.
Andy, what are your thoughts on Russell T Davies coming back to Doctor Who?
Well, I was not expecting that at all.
No, I don't think anyone was.
I think I tweeted "fuck me sideways" or something along those lines. But do you know?
So
That's one way to celebrate. I mean, that's fine.
First of all, I saw it and it was like that, and then
The first thing I thought, because someone sent me a link, and I thought, okay, it's going to be one of these sites where they just put rumours as fact. But it was a link to a BBC site.
you
Like,
click the link and you get rickrolled.
okay. Yeah.
But yeah, my second thought was, oh, that's not showing much confidence in anything, is it? That's going backwards. My third thought was, I've really enjoyed everything he's done since, and he's not someone that's going to stand still, and he's not going to just repeat himself.
No.
So I'm really looking forward to it on that basis.
Yeah. So my thoughts were, once I got over the initial shock, because it was like a wow moment, I did see one or two people saying, "Oh, it's a bit of a backward step," and is it going to go back to how it was before? As you say, I don't think he would do that, but I think the series we got out of him before were the RTD that had done Bob and Rose and Second Coming and all those programs, whereas I'm really looking forward to seeing what the RTD that's done years and years and It's a Sin is going to come out with. Obviously, it's going to be tailored to a family audience, but I just think he's been through a lot as a person through his personal professional life, and I think that's going to give him a new direction.
I think
so I'm
there's
really
a
excited
quote
to see
by him,
do.
something along the lines of, my life and my writing are not two separate things. So he's not someone that shies away from putting himself or his experiences into his work. So
yeah. So what did you think, Ian?
Well, I was struck by, because I'm sort of re-listening to all of Flight Through Entirety, and something that they keep picking up on is that when RTD is writing at 2 a.m, and maybe he's kind of not on autopilot, but he's under so much pressure, and just this phenomenal darkness comes out of him. And obviously it's all family friendly, and it's all presented in such a way that it's not necessarily a huge problem. But that was, as you said, the RTD of, almost 20 years ago, and he had that much darkness in him. And I think now that aspect of him, because of the work he's done, because of what's happened in his life, that's going to be there so much stronger. So I think you're going to have this kind of balance of his lightness of touch, his skill with characters, but also I think he might be consciously or unconsciously taking it somewhere really quite edgy now, especially with the time travel elements of years and years, and that It's a Sin, which I still haven't quite recovered from. I think there could be some really powerful stuff in it, and he's had a good long time to recharge his TARDIS batteries, or whatever it's called. The Eye of Orion, let's call it. I'm sure he's never called it that. So I think on the whole, given that there was no obvious kind of alternative, then I think getting him back is, for the short term, for a year or two, is probably a masterstroke.
I don't know if you've seen the interview with him from, I don't know how long ago this goes back, so this may have been well before he was even in the frame for the job, but he was talking about how when he was in charge, he was building an empire, and he said, you look now at what Disney are doing with Marvel, and you have all these various shows all running simultaneously. And he says, we should be having a 10th and 11th Doctor show, and we should be having this come back, and we should be having that come back.
Nissa of Traken show, so, I think was in the quote, wasn't it?
Yeah. And obviously, the other part of the whole thing with him coming back is that it's now going to be a joint thing between BBC Studios and Bad
Have either of you watched his Dark Materials?
Yes.
Really excellent. I mean, visually, it's stunning what they've done with that, with the demons, the animal characters and stuff like that. It's incredible. So, bring it on, I say.
Well, when you consider Hollywood with all their budget, and Daniel Craig and Nicole Kidman couldn't pull it off, but these guys did, I think that says a lot.
Definitely. Oh, they class writer as well, didn't they?
It's left me quite enthused. I think a few people have said, now that we know the future is kind of safe for the foreseeable, we can now just sort of sit back and enjoy the next series without that added sort of thing hanging over it. So I'm hoping. I don't want Chibnall to fail. I want this to be a good series, and it does play to his strengths because he does like those continuing dramas. Broadchurch was a really good example of that. I don't know how they're planning to do it. I mean, part of when they announced it that it was going to be this continuous thing, a part of my mind went back to Children of Earth.
Yeah, mine too.
So are they going to do it over the course of a week? Just shoot the whole lot off in one load, or is it going to be over a series of weeks? Be interesting.
Well, I mean, everyone will know the answer to this now by the time this episode comes out. But So when I thought about the idea of him doing this 6-part series, I thought, well, he's had a lot of time with COVID to not do much else apart from, have these ideas. And I think it was probably only the limitations of production that necessitated doing a very short run. So I think you're going to get 6 separate episodes that are just the arc stories for what would have been a 10-part series. Just we lose the filler. We don't get Orphan 55 this year.
What you're saying is it's going to be all killer.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Yeah. Let's hope it was in a timey-wimey way.
And with RTD coming back, I guess that means there's a chance we might get Doctor Who Christmas specials back again, which, call me sentimental, but I kind of miss those.
Yeah, I do as well, actually.
They don't normally add much to the overall, they're not really usually of much consequence, but it became a little tradition, and I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, it did become a very strong part of Christmas. There's less and less. By the time you're as old as I am, you don't get toys anymore at Christmas. There's less and less to look forward to. It was really all about the Doctor Who Christmas special. So when we lost that, it was a bit of a
Yeah.
And somehow New Year's Day just feels slightly less of a thing to celebrate.
Yeah,
well,
you're telling me.
I mean, you're probably well and truly hungover, aren't you?
Well, I've usually been gigging the night before. I'm very often gigging on New Year's Day as well. So,
that's watching it on catch up isn't quite the same, is it?
Whereas with the Christmas special, it was a nice point in the day. When you've got everything else out of the way, there's that still to look forward to. Sit down with the kids.
Everyone's stuffed with food. They're just chilled out on the sofa. Well, that was tremendous fun. Thank you, Andy, so much.
It's lovely to get to chat to you, gents. It's very, very nice.
I mean, most people won't leave the house on Christmas Day, so we really appreciate you making an extra effort. Thank you.
Well, there was an offer of a free drink and a pot noodle.
Is there anything you'd like to give a little plug to before you disappear?
No.
Excellent.
If you're in the Midlands area and you happen to see an advert for a band called The Modest playing in your local boozer, pop on down and see us.
You will be guaranteed a great time.
Well, you'll be guaranteed the time.
Well, to give you a little bit of a flavour of what you might expect, we're going to play out with a Modest track where you guys have done a little Christmas cover.
Yeah. Bit of Greg Lake for you. In the style of the Beatles.
Nice. Well, what's not to like?
Well, vaguely in the style of the Beatles, but
Yeah, no, that's good. I
like a Mellotron.
Excellent. Well, me too. Ian's like, what's a Mellotron?
No, I love
I'm
Mellotron.
sure REM have used
I
one.
didn't like Optimus Prime, but I loved Mellotron.
Oh, yeah.
REM have definitely used a Mellotron. Come on.
I'm sure they must have, yeah.
Just a
their
bit.
Ebos and their whatchamacallits.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway.
Right.
So, thank you very much for joining us. Thank everyone for listening, and I hope you're all having a wonderful Christmas. And we'll be back, in a couple of weeks, Mark, with a regular episode?
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah. Until then, why not have a drink?
Cheers.
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 They said there'll be snow at Christmas. They said there'll be peace on earth. But instead it just kept on raining. Veil of tears for the Virgin's birth. I remember one Christmas morning, the winter's lights and a distant choir, and the peal of a bell and their Christmas tree smell, and their eyes full of tinsel and fire. saw him and through his disguise. I wish you were home for Christmas. I wish you were great with me. Oh, anguish, pain, and sadness. Leave your heart and let your rope be real. They said there'll be snow at Christmas. They said there'll be peace on earth. Hallelujah, no will be in heaven or hell. The Christmas you get you deserve.
Thanks again to Andy for coming in and joining us for our Christmas special. If you enjoyed his song and would like to give a little donation, he's supporting a charity called Action for Children, and the web address is www.actionforchildren.org.uk, and even the smallest donation could help make a difference.